Okay, so thank you so much. This is a huge number. It's wonderful to see everyone here today. As I said, my name's Ben Carcages. I'm an education manager at the University of Sydney Centre for English Teaching. And this is our third in our series of Global English Masterclasses. I'm here today with my colleague, as I said, Justine. Justine, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hi everyone, and welcome to our third and final masterclass.
That's right. So as I said, Justine will be helping with the chat box. So if you have questions or comments, you can use the chat box to get in touch with us. And she'll also be talking a little bit about Global English and CET at the end of the masterclass. Okay, so this is our Global English Masterclass. Those who joined us for Masterclass 1 and 2, you'll know that we're not currently delivering face-to-face courses because of the pandemic. And so we really wanted to bring that same high quality experience that students get in the classroom and take it online. This is a new space for us. And it's been great to launch Global English live online. So this is the same high quality course that we deliver in the classroom. So it's very different to a typical online course. It's very, very active. It's an intense course. There's 4 hours of engagement each day live with our CET teachers and of course with your classmates. So it's a very small group experience. There's a maximum of 18 students in a class, often less students as well. And it's very, very communicative. So there's a real focus on you, the student, doing lots of talking because we really believe in active learning. So that's where the masterclass is a little bit different because there's so many people in a short amount of time. I'm going to be giving you a taste of Global English and hopefully some really useful English language skills that you can use after this straight away. But it is very different to the class because it's so big. I do most of the talking. Now, we much prefer you to do all of the talking. So please be active in the chat box. But just remember that the masterclass is very different to the Global English course. I'll be talking a lot. So Global English, we're so proud of this course. It's a unique course that's been developed and run here at CET, the University of Sydney Centre for English Teaching, both the face-to-face and the online course. And you can see here the students have really enjoyed the online course. This is from our first group of students who started in the online course. They recognize that it's really helped them with their listening, with their speaking skills as well, how hard the teachers work to make the class interesting and engaging. And also a really important aspect is the social aspect. The world is very different at the moment and we're all stuck inside. So it's really nice to be able to make friends from all around the world. And this is the timetable that we have for Global English Live Online. So the course starts each day at the same time as this masterclass. So that's 9 a.m. Sydney time, but it's either 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on where you are in South America. So you can see here the timetable. We can go into more detail about that afterwards, but essentially it's 4 hours of online engagement each day. And in that time, there's a lot of opportunities for you to have one-on-one time with the teacher, as well as lots of time in small groups with other students to really practice your speaking and listening skills. Okay, so enough about that. I want to get straight into the masterclass because today's masterclass is, I think, really, really valuable for anybody. Now we have many, many people here, and so you all have different motivation about why you want to study English. So I'll start by asking you why. Why do you want to learn English or continue improving your English? So I've launched a poll. Please choose the answer that best represents. Maybe it's all of them, but choose your number one answer. Why do you want to learn English? Is it for your job? Maybe now, maybe the future. Is it to study at a college or university? Maybe you just want to travel around the world and meet new people. Or maybe you just love a certain singer or book or movie series and you'd love to understand it more. Okay, so great. Lots and lots of answers. There's still some coming in. So please, if you haven't chosen an answer, select your best choice, the one that most represents what you think. Okay, going to close in about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, half a second. A few more people coming in. Okay, end it there. So let's have a look. This is great. We've got the majority of the people here are really interested in learning English for professional reasons, maybe their job now or in the future. I think this is really common with what we see. There's also a lot of people who are planning to study in English, whether it's at a college or university, and a couple of people who just really want to travel around the world, meet new people, understand songs, movies, and different art forms. That's great. So there's a really nice mix. The close to half of the people, it's for professional reasons, and then all of these other reasons. And of course, we know there's not just one reason why you want to learn a language. There's so many different ways to engage. You can see on this picture, maybe it's for work or for travel. Even just in your day-to-day, you see it all the time, whether it's on social media, searching in the internet, Twitter, etc. So there are so many different times when we use English. But today, I want to look at a really practical use of English. And this is about collaboration. So we're going to talk about direct and indirect language and show you how grammar can help you collaborate, which means work together, in English with classmates, work colleagues, or even friends from around the world. So this is really useful for everyone here, which I'm really glad to say. So it's useful whether you're looking at it for professional reasons or academic reasons, or even just for social reasons. Because even with our friends, we need to collaborate. We need to work together to decide where we want to go, what we want to eat, what we want to do. So these are really useful skills. And so it's if this is your first masterclass, welcome. It's great to have you. If you joined us last time, you'll recognize the picture from our online cafe where I invited you to a virtual coffee. Not as good as the real thing. But we're back in the cafe to talk about direct and indirect language. So in English, we really often consider direct language rude and indirect language polite. So this is our first main point for today. Direct language can be rude and indirect language seen as polite. So let's think about asking for a coffee. How would you ask for a coffee in English? Justina, is there anyone that would like to maybe share an answer? So if you're on the video and you give a wave, Justine can unmute you and you can give your answer if you feel like talking. If you're a little bit more shy, but we'd love to hear from you, you can put your answer in the chat box. Okay, we've got a couple coming in through the chat box. Can I have a coffee? Oh, there's some great ones here. I'd love to go back to, okay, fantastic. Let's have a look. So let's think what's the most direct way that we can ask for a coffee. Most direct, a bit rude. I'd say something like, I want coffee. Okay, very, very, very direct. But we've got some great answers coming in the chat box, which are a little bit more polite. So we could say, give me coffee. Please give me coffee, a little bit more polite. But now I see a lot of the answers are reflecting something like this. Can I please have a coffee? Okay, we can be even more indirect. In English, you could say, is it possible for me to get a coffee? You could be even more indirect and say, would you please mind giving me a coffee? Okay, or even, and this is grammatically correct, It's possible to say, I was wondering whether it was possible for me to get a coffee. Okay, it's very, very, very long. Now, do you think the final one here, the very, very long one, is the most polite? Is the best answer to give? What do you think? You can say yes or no. Again, you can use the chat box if you don't. Okay, cool. Lots of answers coming into the chat box. Okay, mostly no, some very strong ones. And I agree with Samuel, who said the middle one is fine, and I completely agree. So the main point from this section of the masterclass is being really direct. I want coffee. If you said that in a Sydney cafe, they probably won't even give you your coffee. It's too rude. But going the other way is just unclear. So we're focusing on successful communication. It's a simple example, but it's a really important one to get the idea. So we need to find a balance between being too direct, which is rude, but also too indirect, which can be unclear. It's too long. I have to listen for so long to understand what's the question, what do you want? And as one person said here, the last one can sound a bit sarcastic. That's true. So tone is really important. Okay, so that's a pretty simple example, but yes, I agree. Something in the middle there. We have to find a balance between direct and indirect. Can I please have a coffee? It's polite and it's straight to the point. Let's have a look at a couple of other examples here. So here's some very direct language. Give me a drink. Okay, just like in our cafe. Or maybe you're at work and your co-worker comes to you. Can I talk to you? And I turn and I say, no, I don't want to talk to you now. Okay, again, it might be true, but it's very rude. Or maybe you're in a social setting and you've got a friend who is a bit boring and they ask you to come to the party they have on the weekend and you say, I don't want to go to your party, I'm going to a better party. Okay, again, it might be true, but oh, that's a bit rude. I'd be a little bit offended, upset. So let's have a look at these. How would you politely say the following? So again, if you want to share your ideas and speak to us, that would be great. Just give a wave and Justine will have a look through the groups. Otherwise, you can write your answers in the chat box. So let's look at the first one here. Give me a drink. What's a more polite way we can say this?
Hey Ben, I've got Angel who would like.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, please.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello,
Can you hear
Angel
me?
again. Yes, nice to see you again.
Really,
How are you?
me as well. Really happy to see you as well.
Yeah,
Well, I would say, could you give me a drink, please?
that's
Like,
great.
it's not that really polite, but it's, you know, and direct and polite, I think.
I agree with you. I've got an example here. This is pretty much what you said as well. Can I please have a drink? Nice in the middle there.
Okay.
And what about the second one, Angel? I don't want to talk to you now. If you have a colleague and they say,
Yes, I would say something like, I prefer not to talk to anyone right now. Or I would say something like, I prefer to be alone, I think.
okay, they're really great answers. I agree. And again, there's no perfect answer here. Of course, there's no right or wrong, but there can be good and bad answers. I think that's a really good example. Thank you, Angel.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So does anyone have any different examples? I think Angel had a really good example there, but what about for the second one? I don't want to talk to you now. We've got some great ones in the chat box here. I see, can I talk to you later? Can we talk about this later? I rather not talk to you now. All of those are really good. Now's not a good moment. Could you? That's great. Oh, Louisa has raised her hand. Justine, can you see Louisa?
I'm just looking now. It's quite a long list.
Yeah, sorry. There's so many people. We have to spend a little time to find you. I'm so sorry. But there's some great answers coming through in the chat box.
Okay, Louisa.
Is Louisa here? Okay, well, you're coming through on the chat box, but you're still muted. Justine, have you found Louisa?
Sorry, let me try and find again.
That's okay. Look, we'll continue and we'll get Louisa to answer for the third one. So I'll have a look here at our examples. So we've got here, again, something simple. Angel had a really good one. Can you please come back later? And again, very similar to what we had in the chat box, something like, look, sorry, I'm busy now. Can I talk to you after I finish? Now, in English, saying sorry, it can mean two things. You can say, sorry, I did something wrong. But this is just a polite phrase. Look, sorry, I'm busy now. And it's really common, especially in British English, but also around the world to say, oh, look, I'm sorry, I can't. Sorry, I'm busy now. Can I talk to you after I finish? Okay. And for the final one, what ideas have we got here? I don't want to come to your party. I'm going to a better party.
Hello?
Oh, hello, Louisa. Nice to
Hello.
hear from
Hi.
you. How are you?
It's my first time here, so I'm kind of excited.
Welcome. It's very nice to have you here.
Thanks. Well, I wanted to answer the second one, but I guess I can try with the third.
You can answer the second and the third one. There's no perfect answer. What did you want to say for the second one?
Well, I wrote, I'd rather not talk to you right now, and you actually read it.
That's great, though. I think it's really, really good. I'd rather. And there's so much language. We won't be looking at today because it's a short time, but that's brilliant language. I think that's a great one. What do you think for the final one? If you have a friend, you're already doing something, and you say, I don't want to come to your party. I'm going to a better party. What's a more indirect way you can say this?
I would say I'm busy right now, so I can't go to your party.
Okay, I'm busy right now. I can't go to your party. Yep, I think that's a good answer. Thank you so much. Great, thank you. And so does anyone else, I'll have a check through the chat box. I haven't been looking there. So we've got, sorry, I can't come. I've got a previous meeting. I have some housework to do. I like this one from Katrin. Sorry, but you know, I'm not into parties. That's great language. So I'm not into parties. It's not really my thing. I don't really enjoy them. Angel says, I think it's not necessary to say, I don't want to go there. It's true. It could be a little bit rude to say, I don't want to go, because that's still being a bit direct. It depends on the person again. Bruno's got some nice language. So all of this, of course, there's no right or wrong. What I want you to think about is always a balance between being direct and indirect. We have to find that balance. It's so important. Every culture is different, every language is different, but in the English language, no matter which country, this rule still applies, somewhere between too direct and too indirect. So there's some really good examples in the chat box. I've just got one here. Look, sorry, again, I'm using that sorry. We've got I'm afraid, that's also really good. I'm afraid I can't come to your party. I already have plans. Okay, but we have lots of different examples in the chat box that are really good as well. Now, there's something common with all of my examples here, and that's these modal verbs. So we won't be talking too much about all the different modal verbs, but what we've got here, can and could. So can I please have a drink, or could you please get me a drink? These are so common for polite requests. And so I guess this is the tip from this part of the masterclass is really, we want to find the balance between direct and indirect, but we don't want it to be very long. So using modal verbs and looking like I'd rather is also a great example there. These are really short ways of making your language more polite. I want a coffee, and could I please have a coffee? They're the same message, but one's a lot more polite. They're still nice and short. So whatever the context, this is a really good thing to be thinking about. Now we'll change the coffee example. These are all good examples, but let's go into a workplace example. So now imagine you're at work, you're with a team, and you have to do a presentation like on the picture here. Okay. When we're working with other people, we need to remember, again, there's a difference between direct and indirect language. Now, in teamwork, of course, that's especially true. If you're too direct, it can be rude, and then it's not really easy to work together because you've got conflict. But if you're too indirect, that's obviously bad as well because it's annoying. Just say what you mean. So you're not going to get the work done. So we need to find a balance again working in a team. And I've just got some examples here. So let's say I say to Justine, hey Justine, you do the introduction. Okay, very direct. I want her to do the introduction, but a bit rude. Or I could say, I want you to do the introduction. Still a bit rude. But then we've got that sweet spot using the modal verbs that we were looking at. So could you do the introduction? Or again, we had another one in the chat box like this. Would you? Now I'm inviting Justine. Justine, would you like to do the introduction? So it's a question. It's what I want to do, but it's sounding a lot more polite. And again, we can always go more indirect. So I could say, Justine, I was thinking it would be a good idea if you did the introduction today. Okay, so which one do you think here would be the best one for this situation? We've got Dave saying, would you mind doing the introduction? Louisa says the last one. We've got the middle. Okay. Okay, good. Look, again, there's no perfect answer. Justine, how would you feel? What would you prefer me to be saying in this example? You, Justine, you do the introduction. Is that good?
No.
Okay.
No. I would prefer the third or even the fourth, depending on the situation.
Okay, great. Look, I think I agree. We've got them just like in the other ones. We've got, could you do the introduction? Would you like to do the introduction? And again, it depends. Justine and I work well together. We know each other. We can be a bit more direct, maybe. If it's someone that you don't know very well, maybe the last one is even better because you want to start polite and then get more direct. So it always changes. There's no right answer, but there are good answers and bad answers. So just think again, direct and indirect, we need to find the balance there. Okay, great to see all of your answers so far. Thank you so much. We're going to move on. So this idea about modal verbs, what really comes to mind for me is that all of these things in English language and any language, all of these aspects, they're like different tools. Okay, the more you have, the better you are able to approach new situations. So if you only have one tool with you, you can only do one thing. If you've got the hammer in the middle, you can hit things. But maybe that's not a situation where you need to use the hammer. The hammer in this case is I want coffee. Okay, it does the job, but it's a little bit blunt. So we're going to be moving on a little bit now to the second part of the masterclass. And we're going to be looking at a little bit of grammar. Now, I would love to know how you feel about grammar because people have strong opinions. So have a look at these choices. I've put up a poll. How do you feel about studying grammar? You could say, I love it. It's better than chocolate. You can say, I like it a lot. It's like a workout for my brain. You could say, I don't like studying grammar. It has too many rules. Or maybe I hate studying grammar. I just want to talk to people. Now, while you're putting in your answers, I'll ask, Justine, how do you feel about grammar? Which answer is yours?
I like it a lot. It's like a workout for my brain. However, when you are learning a language, sometimes, or for me, I don't like it because it's difficult. But once I learn the structure and the rules, then I enjoy it. I like it a lot.
Okay, great. And I think that's a similar feeling that lots of people have. When you're learning, it can be really overwhelming. It's too much, too confusing. Okay, so we've got most people have put in their answers. I'll wait a few more seconds. All right, I'll close it in 5, 4, 3. Well, there's still answers coming through. I hate closing it before people get a chance to put their answer. 1.5 seconds, 1 second, half a second. Okay, and that's it. Let's have a look. Oh, someone got just in time. So most people, and I'm very surprised to say, have said that they like it a lot. That's the majority. It's like a workout for the brain. That's fantastic. That's so good to hear. Okay, only 3 people out of almost 200 say that they love it and it's better than chocolate. Well, that's fantastic as well. Now, lots of people say that they don't like it because it has too many rules, and I completely understand that. And a few people say, I just hate studying grammar. I want to talk to people. And that's a really common one that I've heard teaching over the years. I don't see the point. I just want to talk. Now, thank you so much. It's amazing. It's not that surprising because you've taken the time to come here today. So you all obviously are interested in English language. So maybe you don't need this next message, because I used to find grammar really boring, really boring, until I realized that it was a bit like a game. And when you learn a new aspect and you feel comfortable, it's like you've gone up a level and you can do more things. And it reminded me of playing games, because as a child, I used to love playing games. And as you move up, you learn a new ability or a new power, and you move up the levels. And really with the grammar, it's a very similar idea. Not just grammar, all aspects of language. And I think the most important thing to realize is you don't need to wait until you are perfect, and you don't need to think of grammar as something that's stuck in a book. That's so many people have had a bad experience, maybe studying in high school, just learning English from the book, reading grammar exercises, grammar, reading, and it's very boring. But the thing to realize is it's just a tool for successful communication. The more you feel comfortable with it, the more that you can express yourself. Now, the other thing, and I'm seeing some great messages here. For example, Louisa again said that learning grammar helps her learn languages faster. Absolutely. That's so true. Sonia says she loves studying grammar, but when I start to talk, I lose the rules. Sonia, that's such a great comment, because it's so true. This is another part about language as a teacher, and I've been doing this for over 10 years. I see it every time. The only way that you can, there's very few people in the world that can learn it and then speak it perfectly. That's not how we learn. We learn through making mistakes. So you need to just keep practicing and keep making the mistakes. And then through time, you make less mistakes and less mistakes. Because again, remember, communication is not just about having perfect English. It's about sending your message across. If the people understand, that's the most important thing. And so it is important to have good knowledge of grammar. I agree with the messages in the chat box. But again, don't be stressed about having perfect grammar. Just know what's the tool that you want. What's that grammar that you think you should be using this one, and give it a go. Okay, and absolutely, we won't be talking about slang today, but there's some comments in the chat box about how slang can make it incredibly difficult. And I'm sure it's the same for you in every country, in every language. Native speakers don't always use the language very well, so that can make it difficult as well. Okay, so we're going to look at one aspect of grammar today, just one aspect. And again, this masterclass, we go through very quickly. So if you don't feel comfortable with it at the end, don't worry. I want to introduce this and why it's important. And then afterwards, we've got a website that you can have a look at the slides and look at some practice activities as well. So please don't worry if you don't feel comfortable with it. And if you do feel comfortable with it, that's great. Just remember to use it. Okay. So the first conditional We use the first conditional to talk about future situations that we think are real or possible. So here we've got Julie. Julie's in Sydney on a cloudy day. So she's just, now is lunchtime. Right now for Julie, it's lunchtime, midday. She's just finished a very healthy lunch. Looks like yogurt maybe. And she's thinking about what to do. It's cloudy outside, and she's thinking about what to do in the future this afternoon. So Julie thinks, if it rains, I will stay. And we contract this I will to I'll when we speak. So if it rains, I'll stay inside the house. Okay, so this is the first conditional. It's got the if and the present simple. And in the second clause, it's got will and this base verb, I will stay. Okay, I said clause. Clauses are just parts of the sentence here. And you can see in the conditional, it's separated with that comma. So the first clause, if it rains, this states the condition that she's thinking about in this afternoon. And the second one, the result. So if it rains, what will Julie do? She will stay inside the house. Okay, so let's just, you can think these answers through. I'll just check that you're with me. So for Julie, right now, is it raining? Yes or no? What do you think? I'm going to put the answers here. You don't have to give me the answer in the chat box. You can, but you can just think about it, just to check your understanding of the first conditional. For Julie now, is it raining? Yes or no? And the answer, we've got a couple coming in. That's right. It's not raining now. It's cloudy. Good. All right, so the next question. Is it definitely, so 100% chance, is it definitely going to rain this afternoon for Julie? What do you think? And I've got a couple more coming in. Good. Great. No. So it's not definitely going to rain. Is it possible it will rain this afternoon? Is it possible? And we've got a couple coming in there. Okay. It is possible. There is a chance. So this is the first conditional. So we use that first conditional to talk about future situations that are possible. So for Julie, it's cloudy. She's looking outside and she's thinking, well, it might rain. There is a chance of rain. And if it rains, I will stay inside the house. Okay, great. So that's our first conditional. We can also use it with negative forms. Okay, so same situation. Julie's thinking still, and she's looking and saying, well, if it doesn't rain, does not rain, I will go outside. So the same thing, we've got those two clauses. We've got the if clause with the present simple with rain, but it's if it does not rain, doesn't rain. And then the second clause, what will she do? I will, or I'll, remember when we speak, I'll go outside. Okay. And again, just check. Is it raining now? It's the same situation. So it's not raining now. Is it definitely going to rain? No, but there is a chance. It's the same situation as before. And so the final bit here, both clauses of the conditional sentence can also be negative. So this is Julie, again, looking out the cloudy window. If it doesn't rain, I won't stay here. I won't stay inside. So we've got two negatives. That's correct as well. That's okay. So we've got that if clause with if it does not rain. Okay, so what will you do? She's using a negative here. Well, I won't stay here. Will not, the negative is won't. Will not, won't. I won't stay here. Okay, that's our first conditional. Again, pretty quick. There is a resource page. You can have a look and review this after the class. That's okay. But again, I don't want to just share grammar. We use grammar for a reason. Okay, grammar is for communication. So let's think about our team and our presentation again. And this is the bit that excites me, actually. I really like this part of using the first conditional. So especially for professional English. And I learned this when I was working a lot overseas with teaching business English to managers in big companies. And they would talk about negotiating all the time. Even little negotiations with the co-workers, colleagues, we use the conditionals all the time. So we can use the first conditional to make suggestions and share our ideas in an indirect way. Again, thinking about that direct and indirect language. So if you do the introduction, I'm talking to Justine again. Hi, Justine. If you do the introduction, I'll do the conclusion. Okay, so this is collaboration. I'm working with my co-worker, but it is also negotiating, because I'm saying, well, if you do this, I will do that. If you do the introduction, I'll do the conclusion. So it's a lot less direct. I'm willing to do some work as well. And it's not me saying, hey, Justine, do the introduction. That's not good collaboration at all. Okay, so it's the same form. We've got that if and the present simple, if you do, and we can use a different verb here. If you're doing a presentation, what's a different verb that you can use if you do the introduction? Is there a different verb that you can use? I will do the conclusion. If you make the introduction, that's a great possibility. Good. I think a really good, we've got present. So I think present is a really, maybe the best one here, if you present. So a presentation, we can also use a verb to present the introduction. And yes, if we're at the planning stage, Gabriela said write, of course that would be good, or speak. Instead of speak, we could use this one, which is, I'll just put in the chat box to, big chat box, to everyone, to deliver. So you can deliver a presentation. Okay, we wouldn't use expose in this situation. Good question. But no, so if I'm standing up, we might do a presentation or deliver a presentation. Okay, moving on. Great, thank you. Yes, you do prepare, but that will be beforehand. So you can write or prepare, all good verbs. When you're actually standing up, like the lady is in the photo, you're delivering the presentation. Okay, now, so this is great for collaboration. I'm negotiating here, but I'm also using it. This is my favorite part. We can use it to show a future that we want to avoid. So let's say Justine and I were just not doing much work. Justine's on her phone all the time, aren't you, Justine? And I'm like, hey, come on, do your work. But I can't say that. That's going to be rude. Justine, if I say do your work, how will you feel? Will you stop and do your work?
No, it's very rude.
Okay, but I'm really worried because there's a time limit. We have to finish it in a short amount of time. So again, here's a way to use the first conditional to collaborate really well with your colleagues without the conflict. Do your work. So I'm saying, hey, Justine, I'm sorry. I'm using that sorry again. If we don't decide now, so if we don't decide who does the introduction, who does the conclusion, if we don't decide now, we won't finish the presentation on time. Okay. So we've got that same form. It's the same first conditional. We've got the if, and we've got the present simple. I'm using a negative. So like right now, we didn't make a decision. So if we don't decide now, who does the introduction, who does the conclusion, what will happen? Well, we won't finish the presentation on time. Justine, does that sound better than, hey, do your work?
Much better.
Okay, good, I'm glad. Okay, so this is the first conditional in collaboration. And so if you feel comfortable already with the first conditional, remember grammar is important for communication, and it's the many different ways that we communicate. So we need to work well with people. We need to find that balance between direct and indirect. And when you're collaborating, working in a team, this is a really, really good way to be able to share your ideas, to think of things, and to say things in a way that won't create conflict. Okay, so this is in the workplace, but it can happen, just like I said, this is useful for everyone here today because it takes place in every aspect of our lives. So in a social situation, you're with a group of friends and you're trying to decide where to go for dinner. And maybe you don't want to go out to a restaurant, it's too expensive. And so you might say, hey, look, if you come to my home for dinner. Okay, we'll come back to that one. Professional, maybe you're talking to your manager and you say, if you give me this promotion. Or maybe you're working with a classmate, a friend in school, and you say, look, if you help me with my English homework. Okay, so all of these are the first part, the first clause of a first conditional sentence. I'll give you a second. I've got the second clause. You could finish this in many different ways, but let's just match these for now. So if you come to my home for dinner, if you give me this promotion, if you help me with my English homework, take a minute, think about which one of these matches to the second clause below. You can just take a minute. You can type it in if you want to. Otherwise, you can think about it, and I'll share the answer soon. Or if you would like to speak and share your answers, we love to hear from you. So Justine, try and give a wave, and Justine will be looking through.
Okay, Ben, I've got Angel who would like to speak.
Sure. Angel will do our first one. Great, thank you. Angel, can you do our first one, please, with if you come to my home for dinner? Can you say the full sentence, please?
Of course. If you come to my home for dinner, I'll cook you a delicious meal.
Okay.
That's for the first one. The second
okay,
one.
I won't get you to do the second one, but
Okay.
what about with that first one? Can you think of a different way to finish it? So if you come to my home for dinner, what would you say? How would you finish it?
We could prepare really, or we could drink beers.
Yeah, great. So that's
and watch a movie.
Excellent, Angel, because you're using we could, and that's another really good one. We only focused on will today, but that's a perfect use. So we could, there's possibilities. We could drink some beers. We could watch some movies. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Angel.
You're welcome.
Okay. So Angel gave us the answer to the first one. If you come to my home for dinner, I'll cook you a delicious meal. But of course, there's many different ways you can answer that.
And Ben, we've got Anna who would like to answer the second one.
Wonderful, thank you.
Hi.
Hello. How are you? Oh,
Awesome.
it's a pleasure.
Likewise. So yeah, for the second one, I would say if you give me this promotion, I'll be able to lead our team through this busy project.
Okay, fantastic. Now that's a great answer. What would you say, Anna, if you're talking to your manager and you're trying to convince them to give you a promotion? How would you finish this?
I could say, if you give me this promotion, I could use all my experience to get better results.
Wonderful. No, absolutely. I know it's very general. So in your situation, you can be more specific, but that's a really nice example. You can talk about your experience. That's a great way to negotiate. Have you ever had to have this conversation, Anna? Have you had to give a negotiation?
I had the opportunity. I didn't use it wisely though. So yeah, this is a sore point for me, but I think it's something I could use in the future.
Absolutely. And I know it doesn't make you feel better, but I think we learn from those experiences. I've had many situations where I didn't use the time well, so I completely understand. Hopefully you remember that for the future. Thank you so much for your answer. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Then we've got Gabriela Flores, who would like to answer the third one.
Wonderful. And Gabriela's been really active in the chat box, so I would love to say hello. Hello, how are you?
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh.
Hi, Gabriela.
Hi. Hi,
Hi.
Benjamin, Justin.
How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm a little nervous to speak in English here.
That's okay. You're doing really well. And it's so nice to hear. I think it's normal to be nervous. I'm always nervous to speak another language. I'm scared, but it's great to do it anyway. So, what do you think? This is an easy one. Can you read the final sentence for me, please?
Okay. If you help me with my English homework, I'll be able to use the first conditional correctly.
Perfect. That was good.
Thank you.
Do you have a different answer to finish that sentence? If you help me with my English homework?
If you help me with my English homework, I will help you with your math homework.
That's great. And that's a negotiation again. That's wonderful. That's a
Yeah.
really good example. Perfect. Thank you so much for
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Thank you everyone for sharing so far. And there are so many different ideas. Justine, is there anyone else with their hand up that wants to share a different idea?
Not that I can see. Let me just have a quick look.
That's okay. We're going to come to another opportunity just now. And we've gotten some wonderful ones in the chat box, especially from Carla. That would work for me. If you help me with my English homework, I'll invite you for a beer. That would be great. I'll learn more about this wonderful language. I really like these answers, and we've had some wonderful ones. Ariana, that was a great one there. Stephanie as well. Thank you so much, everybody. So we're coming near the end. I want to remind you why this is useful, why you're here, and why do you need to learn this, or why should you learn this? So those modal verbs, such as can and could, they're a very easy way to make your request sound more polite, but also keep them short. So if you know this already, that's great, but remember, use them. Think about the different circumstances and try and use it as much as possible. And there's many other modal verbs that we didn't look at today. And that first conditional, I get excited actually, because again, it's not just a grammar, it's not about the rules. It actually helps you in your real life. It helps you collaborate in teams and help you discuss ideas and possibilities. And it's really true. The kind of example that I showed you, for example, with me negotiating with Justine or saying, if we don't decide, we won't get it done in time. This is the language that we use in our workplace all the time. So it's really, really useful. And so both of these help you collaborate effectively. And so no matter whether it's with your friends or with colleagues or in an academic setting, it helps you work well with other people. And it's really important. It helps you get things done. So I've got a final first conditional sentence. So if anyone wanted to speak and they didn't get a chance to speak so far, don't be too shy. So this one, it's not a negotiation, I know, but it is a first conditional sentence. So if I study English at the University of Sydney Centre for English Teaching, that's a very long name, by the way. We call it CET because it's much shorter, CET. So if I study English at CET, I will, or I could, I might. There's different ones we've got. Justine, we've got a couple of people putting up their hands, I think. That's great. And remember, you can also put your answers in the chat box. Anna, thank you so much. I love that you love grammar. That's great. There's a standpoint for every game, and communication is a type of game. I agree. Look, some people think it's more serious and they like that idea about having different tools. Other people like the idea of it being a game, and I agree. I think it makes it less stressful.
And Ben, we've got Alejandra who would like to speak.
Fantastic. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm Alejandra. I'm okay. I'm good today.
Good. That's wonderful. Thank you for joining us. What would you like to say? How will you finish this sentence?
Well, I think if I study English at the University of Sydney Center for English Teaching, I will give my best.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's good to hear. And why do you want to improve your English?
Well, all my life I dreamed to be a teacher. So I want to be an English teacher because I think it's my favorite language. But my native language is Spanish, right? So I need to improve my English in order to become a good English teacher.
Sure. It's true. Your English sounds very good already, but it's true. If you're a teacher, obviously you want to feel like an expert. And that's a great idea, giving your best. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Paula who would like to speak.
Okay. Hello, Paula.
Hello,
How are you?
fine. Thank you. Thank you for the class.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's wonderful to have you here. So how do you feel? What's your example for this one?
If I study English at the University of Sydney Center for English Teacher CET, I will improve my communication skills.
Absolutely. That is true, I think. Why do you want to improve your communication skills? What is your goal?
Well, at first it's because I studied English when I was a kid, but now it's kind of difficult to me because I stopped speaking and I like kind of make stop when I'm communicating because I have to think in Spanish and then in English. So I want to improve that because when I'm speaking with a native learner, a native English speaking, it's kind of difficult to me to express my ideas.
Yes, absolutely. I completely understand. Your English sounds very good, but I completely understand what you mean about that difficulty expressing yourself. And again, that's why I like this idea about feeling comfortable with grammar and things like first conditional. It gives you more possibility,
Confidence?
more confidence, and more things to be able to use in the language. But you're doing really well. And what are your goals? What would you like to use your English for?
Well, I would like to use it for apply to some scholarships. I think they require some level for some scholarship to apply for some universities for do another degree, for study another degree.
That sounds wonderful. Good luck. And thank you for joining us again. It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you.
And then
Thank you very much.
we have one more, LML, who would like to speak.
Great. Fantastic. Hello.
Okay, just waiting to unmute.
Sure. And there's some wonderful examples in the chat box. I'm reading through them all. It's so good to see. Thank you.
Hey, can you listen?
Yes, hello. Nice to meet you. Hello.
Hey, hello. Nice to meet you. If I study English at the University of Sydney, CET, I'll improve English language, and also I'll get a success score on IELTS tests.
Okay, fantastic. So your goal is to, first of all, great sentence. Thank you. And
Thank you.
your goal is to take the IELTS. And why do you want to take the IELTS, the unofficial test?
Because I would like to study postgraduate courses. So
Okay.
I would like to have an IELTS, a success IELTS test.
That sounds great. So you would like to go and study in an English language university. What's your area? What do you want to study?
My area is medical imaging.
Wow. Okay.
So radiology, MRI.
Okay, fantastic.
And all medical areas. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been wonderful. There's a couple more people who would like to speak. We might do it near the end because we're right on time, Justine, and I know you need to speak a little bit. We might just go through the final bit of the presentation and then I'll stay around. If people want to share their ideas, we can do that at the end as well. Is that okay with you, Justine?
Yes.
Okay, great. And also remember, thank you so much. If you want to review and have a look at the materials that we had from today, you can go to this webpage that we've got, which has some of the slides from this presentation. And it's got a couple of links to some websites where you can practice the first conditional and practice those modal verbs. There's lots and lots more on the internet as well. So I didn't want to put too many there, but you can certainly practice some of those.